Hello everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the Valencia circuit for Ferrari Challenge, round one of the season, where we are about to get qualifying underway for our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. They have 30 minutes within which to set their grid position for the race to come a little bit later on today. It's very, very early. Well, of course it isn't, but as the clocks have changed, it feels somewhat earlier than really it is. Yesterday it was an awesome day for the likes of Franz Exler and also Eliseo Dono here on this Spanish track. Follow us on at Ferrari Races and please share your passion for everything that's great and good about this wonderful prancing horse brand, and they delivered some awesome racing for us yesterday, and we're expecting much of the same today. Weather conditions today, well, there's a little bit of wind around today and a bit of cloud around as well, but we're expecting the temperature to be really rather very nice. So that's to be expected, and very much looking forward to that. And there you can see it's 18 degrees at the moment, track temperature is 15 degrees, and absolutely no wind around, according to our meteorological graphics on the right-hand side of the screen. I would disagree with that. As I walked up to our studio here, I felt there was some breeze around, but obviously none being recorded on the track. So, of course, Nico and myself here in the main comm studio. We're joined by the talent that is Ludovica, who's down there in the garages somewhere for us. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Dave, and welcome back on the track here in Valencia at the circuit of Riccardo Tormo. Today is a good day to drive and to took another pole and to try and to find another winner. Yesterday was a good day. Eliseo Donno in Trofeo Pirelli took a pole position and win the first round of Ferrari Challenge Europe, and today we will find who will take the second pole position of this round and the new winner.
Thank you, Ludovica, very much, and look forward to speaking to you during the course of our program today. She's down there in the hot seat, as it were, to bring us all the action from track side. And Nico, as we can see, drivers preparing to get into their cars and go out. There's Andreas Berg Sorensen, who you and I met for the first time at the Ferrari Challenge Winter Series in the United Arab Emirates, where we raced across both Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and Andreas driving for Formula Racing. He's going to be one to watch during the course of the season, I predict.
Yeah, definitely. And Ludovic already said that it was Eliseo Donno who was the dominant driver across the finish line with 14 seconds and change of a gap, winning the race outright. However, also one to watch certainly in the Pirelli class is going to be our second place driver, Tom Fleming, who had a somewhat forgettable qualifying, but had a blistering race, making up 13 positions in the race and coming all the way up to P2. And he's certainly going to try and rectify his qualifying result from yesterday in the hope of being on terms and maybe on the front row come the race, and therefore giving him a fighting chance for the win.
There is Eliseo Donno. We were just looking at Simon Ladniak getting into the car, but this is Eliseo Donno then with his earpieces going in. That means that he can communicate with his engineers at all time. Eliseo Donno then for Radici Automobili, hugely successful yesterday. He joined us in the Ferrari Challenge last year, and well, he certainly opened his account with Maximum Hall yesterday, and he'll be hoping to replicate that achievement today. So the fireproof balaclava going on, of course, and safety very much absolutely paramount and top of the agenda when it comes to Ferrari Challenge racing. So Eliseo then in final stages of preparation to get out there and get his qualifying underway, which we're about 20 seconds from the lights going green here at the Valencia circuit. And yesterday we saw different strategies being adopted with regards to qualifying, who would go out and when, and you know, we saw the qualifying sessions being punctuated sometimes. And this is Franz Engstler then, who was another one like Eliseo Donno, who really maxed out his account haul yesterday, and he'll be hoping to do the same. I was speaking to Manuel Reuter earlier on today. Of course, he is the team boss, if you will, for Engstler Motorsport and Charles Pozzi GT Racing. And Manuel and Franz have both got a rich litany of racing success over many, many years, I would suggest.
Yeah, definitely, no question about that. And remember that France was the champion in the Coppa Shell last year. It was elevated to Trofeo Pirelli M and didn't, certainly at first glance, didn't find the competition so much stiffer because he distanced everybody else in his class by more than 10 seconds on his first outing. So he certainly hit the ground running and got the campaign to a perfect start the same way as Alessio O'Donoghue. And there he is, Franz Exler. Therefore, he sports the #1 on his car by virtue of being champion in Shell and being elevated to Trofeo Pirelli M. And there we go on board, and that gives you a little bit of an idea of this stadium-like Valencia circuit. We did a track walk on Friday evening, just before dinner, and it's not quite as undulating. The elevation changes are not quite as pronounced as maybe at Mugello or some of the other circuits, but you do get some corners where you really dip down and then come back up, so it's noticeable.
Indeed. So we're with Franz Exler. Let's join Ludovica right now. Or maybe not. So Franz Exler then, as he takes us on a lap of the circuit here. It is 4 kilometers, as near as makes no difference, and is, as Nico was suggesting, really rather flat. And the television pictures kind of make it seem more undulating than really it is. But you can see there as he rides the crest of perhaps the steepest part of the circuit, and you run down into the final turn, which is an absolute difficult one to get right. And we saw lots of action there yesterday across both the Pirelli races and the Coppa Shell races as well. So Franz Exler now breaking the timing beam, and I suspect we may run the clock on Franz Exler now as he goes for his first timed lap for Charles Podsy GT Racing. Apologies for the false introduction. I do know that Ludovica is waiting to talk to us once again right now.
Yes, I'm here out of the box of Eliseo. Eliseo is just start now on the track to try to catch the second pole of the season. And as you can see, the other car are out in the grid now to catch the best lap today.
That's what it's all about. And what's really, really critical as well is those drivers that will go out and they'll try and nail a lap early on and then park the car, because the tyres that they start qualifying on are the tyres that they've got to use in the race, and therefore the tyre longevity that you can buy by perhaps not stressing the tyres too much during qualifying can pay dividends when it comes to the race. And we will see exactly who does. I mean, there were some drivers that did lots and lots of laps, and I have to be honest, Nico, in the race yesterday, I didn't feel that tyre deg was perhaps the topic that I was expecting it to be. If I'm honest with you, the Pirelli P0s proving that they are extraordinarily durable and very well matched to these wonderful 488 Challenge Evo cars.
Yeah, definitely. A very good point. Now, we did have some safety cars, and especially in the Coppa Shell race, Axel Sarting, the winner, told us afterwards he was preserving the tires consciously. Yes. Had he known that there would have been 3 or 4 laps neutralized behind the safety car, he would have been able to push more.
Yes.
So the drivers obviously are smart in dealing with the tire degradation that they're expecting. So it's certainly a thing, and Axel Sarting was one who really only did 1 hot lap, nailed it, came back in, and therefore preserved the tires perfectly. And that is always the ideal scenario, and it's always a risk-reward calculation between doing an extra lap and trying to get that 1 or 2 tenths more. And that's why traffic is such an important aspect of this qualifying session, because if you catch the right moment and the right lap with no traffic, you not only get the good time, but you can get it early, rather than having to go out again and try again and taking more out of your tire. So that's where motorsport really is a team game, because your team helps you and position your car in the right place. You still have to nail the lap, of course, but being there with track space is a key part of that.
Max Mugelli that we're watching right now, he's already fastest with a 1:42.594, but that's not really a meaningful time. But as you can see, Both Sector 1 and Sector 2 have been coloured purple on the graphics, which means that this is going to be a very good lap potentially from Max Mugelli, who was on the podium yesterday. And Franz Hengstler is also doing the same in terms of setting purple sectors. So this is very interesting. It's suggesting to me that the drivers are taking more than one lap to get the tyres up to temperature, and therefore to get them in the window that they need them to be. Here's Franz Hengstler then. Is this going to be a new provisional pole from the German driver as he crosses the timing line now? Yes, indeed it is. It's a 1:39.271. So that is pole position in class, because Franz Hengstler is a Pirelli AM driver. You can tell that by the white screen, white strip across the top of the windscreen. Max Mugelli is indeed a Pirelli driver, so he has a red strip, and that is Philippe Brett, if I'm not mistaken, who was reversing, which is not the direction that he would like to be going into, but thankfully, very sensibly, he's been able to pull himself out of that gravel. Now he'll distribute some of that gravel onto the track, which is never particularly desirable, but well done for keeping it out of the barriers, Philippe Brett. Just proving that on cold tyres, Nico, the grip that you would like to be there oftentimes isn't.
Yeah, indeed. And tyre topic is a big part of this early part of the qualifying session. We always see that on the Sunday, whereas Saturday, the early part of the qualifying is very quiet. People leave it late in general. Sunday, the drivers come out on Saturday's tyres initially, make sure they have got the car set up correctly, get into a rhythm, and then in about 5 or 6 minutes, you'll see lots of them coming in, change onto the rubber that they will use for the race today, and therefore we'll hit a little bit of a snag in the qualifying session with lots of drivers in pit lane, and then they will come out, and then it's about setting the meaningful times in earnest. Putting a good banker in before that is never a bad thing, however.
Inicio goes quickest now with a 1:38.442, and as we expect him to be on yesterday's tyres, when he does change those and goes on to a new set for today, then we can expect that 1:38.442 to come down significantly. We've got 22.5 minutes of the session remaining. Eliseo Dono and Max Mugelli are the two quickest Pirelli drivers. The two quickest Pirelli AM drivers are Franz Hengstler and Philippe Brett at the moment. But as I say, we've still got 22 minutes of this quali session remaining, so a lot to be done. And here is Max Mugelli, who once again has posted a purple sector. So he and Eliseo Dono are having something of a ding-dong out there, and trading fastest lap times. However, Max Mugelli has also exceeded the track limits, I'm given to understand, Nico, which may mean that his lap is deleted.
Definitely, yes. That lap that we're following right now has no bearing on the timing at the end of the session because of the track limits excursion you were just mentioning. And as we expected, more and more drivers filing into pit lane just beneath our commentary window as we follow Max Mugelli around down that crest, and this is the final turn. It is downhill, and then it really takes a bite to the left.
Can I give you a news flash here? I can see from, I mean, we have several screens in our studio here. I can see a brand new set of Pirellis going onto the Eliseo Dono, the Franz Hengstler car. So Franz Hengstler obviously did go out on yesterday's tyres initially. He's put a new set of tyres on. He's going to go out and try and blitz that 1:39.271 that he has delivered thus far. We're watching the car of James Owen, who is very quick for Meridian Modena. James Owen then, as you can see, Sector 1 is purple. No track limit infractions that I can see for James. So Sector 2, I mean, he's 1.2 seconds up on the target time. This is a very good lap from James Owen. Well done to our guys for picking up on this, perhaps somewhat earlier than I did. And James Owen then heading towards the final turn, and from there he heads down towards the breaking the timing beam. So P10 in class for James Owen all of a sudden becomes P1 with a 1:38.166, having taken quite a chunk of time out of the previous fastest time, which was from Franz Hengstler within class. Here's Lucky Kira, a Ferrari Challenge UK champion, knows how to drive these cars. He's third fastest, stays third fastest in class. with 2 personal bests through Sector 2 and Sector 3. So it is now James Owen provisionally P1 for Trofeo, Pirelli and Nico.
Yeah, and James Owen had a really good qualifying yesterday. A little bit of an unlucky start, was nerved out, had to go very wide and lost a few positions, had a very good race. At the end, unfortunately, got a penalty for track limits, which dropped him back down the order a little, but he certainly showed he had the pace in the car and in himself for sure. And that lap that we just saw, even though for the very tire reason that we already elaborated on, maybe not his last word, certainly a very, very good lap. It shows that he got this track and the rhythm down very early.
Now we could see new tyres going onto the Simon Ladniak car. Simon, who I'm expecting good things of. I mean, he's an experienced driver, young driver, and we're expecting Simon Ladniak to really, really take to the Ferrari Challenge and expecting good things from him. Good things also come from Ludovica, who's in the pit lane for us right now.
Yes, David, Nico, I want to see you how the mechanic, all the teams are in pit stop in grid for the first time today. And it's always beautiful to see how the team work together. You see, here there is a change of the tire and behind the fuel of the mechanic.
Thank you, Ludovica. Dennis DeMarco, Nico, has now gone quickest in Pirelli with a time of 1:38.412. And this is the number 8 car of Nicolo Rossi, who is on a trajectory forward-looking in his Ferrari Challenge racing career. Had a stellar season last season, and looks like he's having a stellar qualifying so far, Nico, because 2 purple sectors, Sector 1 and Sector 2 within class. This could be troubling James Owen then. Let's see. Nicolo Rossi for Kessel Racing, and you can also see that James Owen is going again and setting a purple through Sector 1. So as these new tyres go on and they come up to temperature, we are seeing the times come tumbling down as Nicolo Rossi goes from P13, Nico, to P1. The first sub 1:38 time we're seeing, a 1:37.714. Is that now going to be bettered by the Meridian Modena driver that is James Owen? Well, we're following him right now in the number 26 car. And let's see what he can do. It's looking pretty promising because Sector 2 has also been painted the same color as Sector 1. That's purple, which means heading in the right direction for setting another provisional pole. The target time is a 1:37.714. And he crosses the timing line and breaks the beam with a 1:37.296. So big chunks coming out, Nico. We are talking some 4/10 that he took out.
Absolutely, almost half a second as we head on to Hanno Laskowski with a personal best through Sector 1. Just for reference, the pole time by Alicia Donner was a 1:34.4. In fairness, nobody else came beneath the 1:35.5, so just to give you a range of expectation. Now, we're an hour earlier in the day, not by the clock, but by our inner clocks, and certainly by the weather. So not necessarily expecting exactly the same time, but roughly that range as we follow Hanno Laskowski across the timing line. This is going to be a good one, a good improvement for sure. And indeed, it is second for the time being, 1:37.560. 2.5 tenths down on James Owen, but leaving his mark. And as Ludovica rightly said, lots of work being done on the cars. Tire changes for sure, but we also saw some work being done on brake discs and other setup elements. And one of the earliest drivers to come in was this driver, Franz Engstler. He also has stayed in quite a lengthy time, but I think this is where he really bides his time. We've got half the session remaining, and he wants to go out later rather than earlier. But track space always becomes an issue, and there is Hanno Laskowski, who has track space by dint of the fact that more than half of the grid is currently in the pits. That means lots of free tarmac ahead of him, and he made use of that in the first sector.
Yes, Hanno Laskowski then. Let's see what he can do. He is currently second fastest. We've got this curious situation, Nico, halfway through the qualifying session where the top 3 drivers are all Pirelli AM drivers, which we wouldn't ordinarily necessarily expect to see. So that will change, I feel sure, within the constraints of the 14.5 minutes we have remaining in this qualifying session. But heading to the final turn now, Hanno Laskowski, look at that. He took a wide line so he can really slingshot out of there and head towards breaking the timing beam. Target time of 1:37.296. This is going to be a good time. It's a 1:36.860. And again, Nico, the margins with which these times are improving are big. 4 1/3 tenths from Hanno Laskowski. He had track space, he had everything set up perfectly in the car, and he delivered.
Yeah, definitely. And it is, I think it is his second stint, and I think the previous lap was where he almost still had his installation lap. Now his Pirelli P0s are up to peak operating window, and he put those to perfect use. Nicola Rossi also with a very good lap, almost at the same time, but he fell foul of the track limits, and therefore that lap doesn't count. And we expect him to go again, even though also this first sector has already been compromised, as has Hanno Laskowski, so those times won't count. Tom Fleming is one of the drivers who left it very late in coming out for the first time. He's now out and trying to set a good time. We already talked about his qualifying yesterday wasn't nearly as good as his race.
He was awesome in the race, absolutely awesome. And he was like a number of drivers, and I could make a list of them, Nico, if you like, of one of those drivers that when he's on the back foot and when the cards dealt to him have not been the ones that he wanted in his hand, he becomes an even better driver. He'd got the bit between his teeth yesterday in the race where he'd been nerfed off, and he cut through the back of cars like a hot knife through the proverbial butter.
Yeah, he certainly delivered everything, and we had that conversation yesterday. Who was the driver of the day? It was like Engstler, Dono, and I think we both said, well, you know, Fleming certainly, at the very least, deserves a very honorable mention for the 13 places he improved during the race.
Sure.
And he did it clean and tidy and early and very entertainingly as well. As we follow the Danilo Del Favero car as he comes upon on some traffic in the person of Andreas Berg Sorensen, or rather he's following in Challenge Evo. But he got by, and still a personal best, even though certainly that traffic has compromised his lap time just a little bit. We're now under 12 minutes remaining, and that means pretty much everybody has filed back out of pit lane. It is a busy track, 16 cars out there finding track space, finding the perfect moment and progression for their tires, for their brakes, to put in their best possible lap times.
Oh Nico, oh Nico, oh Nico. There is the title of a song that has not yet been published, but when it is, it's going to be a big hit. You talk so much sense. There are times when you don't, but today you're talking sense. Here is Tom Fleming then, who you were just saying, you know, yesterday, absolutely dreadful qualifying session, dreadful start to the race, but then cut his way through the pack. And I have to say, this is looking pretty good so far, Nico. We can only take a measure of the first sector that he's completed, but that first sector was a 22.187, which is probably second fastest sector time through sector 1 that we've seen in the session so far. So Tom means business here for HRO, and is new to the Ferrari Challenge this year and a very welcome addition. And Tom for breaking up or lighting up rather the brake discs as he heads into that right-hander. So the target time cumulatively was 1:11. We blitzed that. It's a 1:10. So dare I say it, can I put my prediction cards on the table here and make myself look a darned idiot if it doesn't happen? This could be a new provisional pole from Tom Fleming. Whoa! And commentators curse, Nico, as I open my great mouth. But he's still done it. Even with that sideways moment, which would have cost him valuable 100ths, he has delivered a 1:35.785. Tom, take my hat off to you, because I didn't think you were going to do that. I thought we lost it all in the final turn where the back end of the car stepped out, but he's done it.
Yeah, and he basically did it through 1.5 sectors. The first one wasn't that good. The second and the third one, with the exception of that last bit, was extraordinary. And I expect him to even improve. What we also saw, Dennis DeMarco putting it into P2. Nicola Rosi getting the best time in the AMs for the moment with 1:36.852. But we see lots of purple sectors, Alicia O'Donnell being one of them, and as if by magic, there is yesterday's winner. 1.4 seconds to the good yesterday in qualifying, 14 seconds to the good in the race yesterday. It will take some stopping power for anybody to get by him come the end of today, but Tom Fleming and others are certainly trying, and Alicia O'Donnell is trying everything to prevent that from happening. He runs down the hill, currently P4 in class. Where will he be at the end of this turn and the blast of throttle that will take him to the timing line? I'm trying to time that perfectly. It's not quite working, but it's a 1:34.579, almost identical to yesterday's pole lap, and nobody got to anywhere within that range. I think after that blistering lap, it's time for a breather. Ludovica down in the pit lane.
Hi everyone, I'm here with Anouk, Dennis DeMarco team manager. Anouk, this day is very good because in this morning Dennis is very fast, and now your team have the pole of Pirelli M with Nico Rosi.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say that we hope that he will stay like this until the end of the qualification, but so far they started well, yeah.
What is the strategy did you decide to use today?
We decided to go a bit later than the other to warm up because we have 1 hour less, let's say. It's a bit more cold than yesterday, so we decided to let the other warm up the track and then we go.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, thanks.
Ludovica, the veritable star, getting hold of Kessel Racing team officials then to tell us what their strategy is. The strategy of Alicia O'Donnell, Nico, is absolutely full chat flat. He is giving it everything here, and he wants to really secure that, you know, as if a 1:34.579 wasn't enough. This is going to be an improvement still further. Max Mugelli is second fastest, but here comes Alicia O'Donnell. And let me try my hand at back timing this to him, crossing and breaking the timing beam now. And he delivers a 1:34.327. If I may extol my virtues, I did that pretty well, but he did it even better than you and I put together, Nico. They are on fire in this qualifying.
Oh, 100%. That is even faster than yesterday, even though we're an hour earlier in the day. Franz Engstler put it onto pole position provisionally in the AMS with a 1:35.577. That's also a little bit quicker than he did yesterday. Very good. Tom Fleming trying to stay on terms. Not quite did it, yeah. He's currently 4th overall, 3rd in class. Max Mugelli, the closest one to Alicia O'Donnell, with a 1:35.374, but that's a full second behind our pole setter. There is Franz Engstler, best in the AMs already, but he's on the 2nd row for the time being. He would like to be on the front row once again, as he did yesterday, mixing it up with the Pirelli drivers.
Yes, I was going to say he might be on for that. Sector 1 was looking really good. Sector 2, I think he may have got some traffic, but Sector 3, you know, you don't necessarily, Nico, have to have all 3 sectors purple to put in a pole sitting time. As Franz Engstler heads towards the line now, it's a 1:35.626. So, as you can see there, he's 4 100ths down on where he needs to be, and at the moment, as you say, it's a 3rd row start for Franz Engstler. Is he going to go again? By Jiminy, I think so. It's Alicia O'Donnell and Max Mugelli, P1 and P2 for Pirelli. For Pirelli AM, it is Franz Engstler and Philippe Brett. And we can see Franz Engstler inside the car, then pushing as hard as he could. There are some drivers that have decided enough is enough, and they've jumped out of the car and have decided that they've delivered all that they're going to be able to deliver in this qualifying session, which now has 5 minutes and counting remaining.
Absolutely. There is Tom Fleming, and he looks like he has slowed down. I think that's not quite race pace, and P4 overall is certainly better than he did yesterday in qualifying.
Sure.
It's not as good as he looked in the race yesterday, to be fair, because he really looked, and for lots of the race, even though we had to do overtakes, he was the fastest man on the track. So a second row start for the time being, and if I'm being honest, with 4.5 minutes remaining, there is not the flurry of personal and overall best that we may have expected towards the end of the session, but there is still 4.5 minutes remaining, plus whatever is left of any lap that has been started with time on the clock. So let's not get the rotund lady to warm up for her anthem.
So, currently Alicia O'Donoghue P1 and Franz Angstler P1 as we look at both Pirelli and Pirelli AM categories and join once again Ludovica in the pit lane.
Yes, Dave, as you said before, now the new poleman of Pirelli M is Franz Angstler, and now I'm here out of the box and I want to show you all the team that see and which see the time and the qualifying of Franz. So it's very beautiful to see the atmosphere into the box.
Thank you very much, and we're expecting you during the course of the day to find Luca Engstler for us, who's Franz's son, as he welts his size 8 up Franz's bottom, because they have a fantastic relationship as father and son. And what's really, really interesting is, I mean, Franz is a hugely experienced racer who has not only bought the T-shirt, but he's won the T-shirt. He's ironed it several times, you know, such as his success. And that success is being replicated by his son Luca as well. And they have a role reversal, Nico. So like in a Ferrari Challenge weekend, Luca is very much kind of driver coach to Franz, and then when Luca is racing, Franz is the other way around. You know, it's a wonderful dynamic.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, by the time we hit Le Mans, that team will consist of 3 veritable DTM drivers with Manuel Reuter, Franz Angstler, and by the time we hit Le Mans, Luca Angstler will have his first DTM races under his belt as well. So, I mean, that is a legendary team, if there ever was one.
And a great bunch of people as well, if I may say.
Even though they're German.
Well, of course.
And I can say,
I'm not going to hold that against them.
If you don't know, I am German, so I have some legitimization to say that.
Yes, glad you did it, not me. I'd have been hauled over the coals somewhat.
Of course.
Tom Fleming then, and I have to say, I have analysed this. You know, his qualifying today is far, far superior to that we've seen yesterday. Dare I say, I think Tom Fleming is a better racer than a qualifier. That's just my opinion. Before you even answer that, let's go back to Ludovica, who'll talk more sense than I will.
Hi everyone, friends. Today is start very, very good. How do you feel in this morning with the car?
Yeah, here Valencia is always really special, where in the morning the track and the speed is better than in the lunchtime. So that is why we start very early to go out of the pits and push very early, and yeah, it was really good. We are in P1, that's fine for me.
And what type of tires did you use?
It's from the regulation, we have to use the Pirelli tires, and he works very well, and yeah, we had a good feedback from the tire.
Okay, thank you.
Franz was nicer to you there, Ludovica, than a driver was to me once when I said, what sort of tyres are you using? He said, the normal ones, they're black and they're round, Dave. Franz was altogether more polite and nicer, Nico. And yes, he's German.
Yeah, well, he was nice anyway. No, I mean, lovely people, lovely team. And overall, I think it's time or a good opportunity to mention the camaraderie in the paddock and the overall atmosphere, which is really, really nice.
Oh, it is.
Especially the first event of the year is always, you see so many familiar and pleasant faces, and everybody's really, really accommodating. In our track walk on Friday evening, we came upon a number of drivers, and
we were nearly taken out by Daniele Diamato.
Intentionally. On his scooter.
On his scooter. We were walking. He wasn't.
No, obviously not.
Irritatingly, he's fitter than you and I put together, isn't he? But there we are.
Well, there is a reason for that. And Alicia O'Donoghue is quicker than anybody, as we see his car with the track, or the session 12 seconds from being finished, and only Kim Eriksson.
Forgive me interrupting you. You could just see there is Franz Engstler. To the left-hand side of the picture is Manuel Reiter, and then right behind them is Alexander Nussbaumer, who of course is a Shell driver, who's looking on as well, trying to take on board any data and any information that might be of benefit to him. As the checkered flag has come out, no one's setting purple sectors, so the session is as good as done, I think it's fair to say. Nico waving that flag with a bit of gusto, isn't he? And there is the man of the moment, Alessio Dono for Radici Automobili. And well done, Alessio. Very, very good qualifying once again, and I think got very good tyre life left for the race as well. You'd be a brave man to bet against a double bubble this weekend for this young man.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen in the race, as we saw yesterday, but he was dominant, and Max Mugelli will be alongside. Good racer, Franz Engstler behind him, a M driver. Then it's Tom Fleming from P4, and based on yesterday's race pace, once again, he's certainly one to watch. Then it's Dennis DeMarco and Szymon Ledniak. Those are the top 3 rows for later on. We didn't see much of Philip Pratt, but he put it onto P2 in class.
He did what he needed to do, Nico.
Oh, absolutely. And there is a picture of Valentino Rossi, who we would also like to welcome in the Ferrari Challenge, but he's doing other racing for the time being, so we bide our time.
Not beyond the realms of possibility.
Well, if we see Franz Engstler being part of the series, Valentino still has a few years until he's due for the challenge.
France, well, Tim. There's Hanno Laskowski, who's walking down the pit lane now, and Hanno is 4th fastest within class. Driving for Emil Frey, and of course Hanno was one of many drivers, Nico, that once again fell foul of the rod of iron that is ruled by Claudio Garavini, our race director, with regards to track limits. Now, track limits excursions in qualifying means that the lap you're on, that you have infringed those track limits, you end up losing that lap. When it comes to the race, if my memory is correct, you get 3 warnings about track limits. When it gets to the 4th warning, you're picking up a penalty.
Yeah, and those penalties escalate. Here is the result of this qualifying session once again. I remind you, Trofeo Pirelli AM, they will be mixed on the grid, so wherever you're qualifying in this session is where you will start the race, barring any penalties. And that means Franz Engstler, even though he's an M driver, mixing it up with the Pirellis.
With a cushion of 3 Pirelli drivers before the next best AM driver, which is Philippe Pret, Nico.
Absolutely. Good qualifying from Dono, from Jelly, Engstler. And I understand, go back down to the pit lane in just a few moments, as Alessio Dono is just too quick for Ludovica to catch up, as he's too quick for anybody else of the drivers to catch up. But I'm sure we will go down. And she's done it. She's the first one to catch up with Alessio Dono. And there you go. Ludovica, take it away.
Eliseo, congratulazioni, seconda pole, seconda qualifica. Che cosa ci racconti di oggi?
No, sono molto contento, davvero, per il lavoro fatto dal team. Anch'io sono molto migliorato in confronto a ieri, si poteva ancora fare meglio, però miglioriamo gara dopo gara, quello è l'importante. Dai, cerchiamo di fare bene come ieri in gara 2. E speriamo di vederci sotto al podio.
Grazie. Okay, Nico and Dave, Eliseo have just received the prize of the pole position and is very happy for the results. Is more confident with the car and the track respect yesterday, and he was very happy for the work of all of the team, and he tried to do better today.
Thank you so much, Ludovica. Darned more efficient than Google Translate, if ever I've seen. Next session will be our Copa Shell qualifying 2, which comes up at around about 20 past 12 today. Please make sure you join us for that. We have Alessio Dono, P1 for Trofeo Pirelli. We have Franz Engstler, P1 for Trofeo Pirelli AM. It's a similar tale to the tale that we had yesterday. What we do know is that in prospect we have a fantastic race to come a little bit later. From Nico, from myself, from Ludovica, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye for now.